Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to Donington Park. As the title says, I'm testing a Ford KA. Well, I'm testing a race car. This is a race prep Ford KA that I will be racing at Donington Park on Sunday the 30th of June. I'll put a link down in the description for where you can watch the live stream of the race. Qualifying is at 9:25 to 10:25, and then the race starts at 2 p.m. and ends at 7 p.m. I think that's correct maths. But there's three parts of this video. The first part is the end of my test day, when I'd kind of got into the rhythm of the circuit. I was starting to feel a little bit more confident and putting in some really consistent lap times. It's also a great opportunity for me to go over my laps and kind of look at what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong, and get some final little preparation in before Sunday. I've also got a little tour of the race car itself, so you guys, for those who have never seen a race car or been inside a race car, you can see what a race car actually looks like on the inside. Have a look at some of the buttons and all of that. I'll kind of do a more in-depth one during my race video, which also means make sure you drop a like and subscribe, because if you're subscribed, you'll see when that race video comes up on YouTube. And then finally, I've got a little clip from the start of the day, which is actually weirdly when I did my fastest lap, pretty much when I went straight out in the car. I got a really quick lap in, and I thought that'd be something good for you to see. Unfortunately though, it's using the V-Box camera instead of the GoPro camera, which is what you're currently seeing. This is from the GoPro camera. V-Box camera wasn't quite as good, but we are out of the final corner and we're ready to start a lap. At the end of the day, which is when I recorded these current clips, it was much quieter. There were less drivers on the circuit, which meant that I had more time to just put in some good laps. We're using that little bit of pit lane entry going into turn one. We just want to get the front end tipped in and then on the power. But I think turn one is where I was definitely losing some time. I just couldn't find the right line through the corner, and I always felt like I was struggling to get on the power on exit, maybe because I was going a little bit too tight into the corner. From what I was speaking to the team, we're kind of predicting that a pole time will be about a 36.5, something like that. But then again, we are using old tyres, so whatever I'm getting here, we're expecting to be at least about half a second quicker with fresh tyres. And I did do a 36.8 at the start of the day, so fingers crossed we might be right on the pace. Anyway, heading up the hill into McLean's, you can really hear the tyres struggling. A little bit adverse camber on that corner, but you kind of just get the car through. And then into Coppice, have a listen. No brakes at all into that corner, just a tiny lift just to get the car settled when you turn in, because if you go into the corner flat out and turn in, the car just gets really unstable. So having a little lift just gets the car stabilized, and then you can carry the speed through. If I was going 10 miles an hour quicker into that corner, I'd probably still do about the same kind of lift and then turn in. I just need to get a lift done. And then into the chicane, you can see those little sausage curbs on the green stuff, and you're getting as close as possible to those sausages without hitting it. And every lap I was thinking, I almost hit those sausages, don't do it again next lap. And then next lap somehow I'd get even closer without hitting it. So Sunday I need to stay away from hitting those, because they look really big and they also look really scary. This time I get what looks like a much nicer run through the opening corner, sorry. So I think that was much better. And then down the hill I was taking this completely flat. Now those keen eyes might be able to see there's a McLaren up in the distance. I saw that McLaren and I was thinking, right, I need to catch up to the Macca, because that would be insane if I could catch and overtake a McLaren in a Ford KA. Now, I know it's not a racing driver in the McLaren. Essentially, there's a company called DTO. They've got loads of different sports cars. They've got McLarens, they've got BMW 1 Series, race prep, all of them race prep. And the average Joe gets to jump into the car and have a go at a circuit. So I think there was an average Jane who had got into this McLaren and was going around Donington. But obviously, I'm not your average Jane. I am your average milky cereal, and I'm hurtling around in a Ford KA. And you can see how much I've caught up to the McLaren through the twisty section. But now we've got two long straights, and those two long straights is going to allow the McLaren to stretch its legs, get up to like 140 miles an hour. I'm only getting up to about 80, maybe 85 miles an hour heading into this chicane. So I'm losing so much time on the straights and coming out of corners. But again, through every corner you'll see just how massively I catch up. And it's actually quite funny because obviously I'm sure for some of the viewers watching, you've had a little bit of racing experience, whether it's karting, whether it's even car racing, whether it's sim racing. So I'm sure a whole bunch of you would jump into that McLaren and drive it much quicker than our average Jane is driving it. But it's still quite cool that if you get a racing driver, and I've not had a lot of experience racing a car. Sure, I've had loads of karting experience, but not any real car racing experience. You can put me in a Ford KA and I can lap quicker than a McLaren. I don't know if it's a 720S or a 620S, but I can lap quicker than a McLaren at a racing circuit, which I was kind of buzzing, and all I was thinking in my helmet was, right, I gotta catch the McLaren. We've got to catch the McLaren. We're going up the hill again into McLean's. Nice little downshift into third gear, get that front end tipped in, and then once it's tipped in, just try to start opening up the steering and getting on to the power. And then we're going to head into cockpits again. You can see how much speed we're carrying into the corner, although I don't come out that wide, so I think I lifted up a little bit more just to try to hold it tight. I was experimenting with a few different lines and going through cockpits at the top of the circuit. I didn't know if I wanted to let the car all the way out carrying more speed, or carry a little bit less speed and take a slightly tighter line, because that way I'd cover less distance, and then nice and late on the brakes down into the chicane, absolutely nailing both of the apexes. And I did feel really consistent through that. At one point I did outbrake myself and I locked up. I was actually happy that I locked up, because it was fine the first time I'd actually locked up the tires in the car, so I'd finally found the limit. Now this lap is a slightly slower lap. It's a 39.85, and you're going to see exactly why, because we have started to reel in the McLaren, and now I'm thinking, okay, we've got the twisty section coming up. I might be able to catch up to that McLaren by the straight, and then maybe next lap I can overtake. But then I realized, whoa, we're catching up to the McLaren very quickly. They brake so much. Look how much more speed we carry, and I think I'll go to the outside, but then they come to the outside. I'm like, okay, right, don't crash into the McLaren. However, their driving instructor then tells them, all right, back off, let the lunatic in the Ford KA go through. We don't want to have a crash with them. But I saw the McLaren was a little bit to the right on the exit, and I thought, okay, I can overtake to the left. And then after the corner was done, they then moved to the left. I was like, what are you doing? I'm back off. But I was aware that, again, it was your average Jane in the McLaren. They didn't know what they were doing, so I was somewhat expecting it, but I really wanted to overtake the McLaren, so I was just like, right, pardon me, I was just thinking, right, okay, gotta go for it. Obviously, it is a track day. You're not meant to do anything stupid. You're not racing. You're only allowed to overtake on the straights, but I'm in a Ford KA. The only way I'm getting past the McLaren is if I get a really good exit, because otherwise they're just going to go on the power and I'll be stuck behind them forever. So I had to get through for both their sake and my sake, because they're probably not going to feel very comfortable with me being a lunatic hurtling behind them. But after that 39.8, we're back into the high 37s, and if we take off that slow sector I had behind the McLaren, it would have been like a 38.0, because I was a little bit unsettled going into the next corner. But every single lap, if you have a look back at the lap times, we've done a 37.7, 37.7, 37.8, 37.8, and then the other lap, which would have been a 38.0 or something. So the consistency was there. The fact that I did 5 back-to-back laps, all within like 1 to 2 tenths of a second, that's probably more consistent than what I do in karting. So that felt really, really good. I was so happy with the consistency, but I feel like there's another half a second I need to find. There's a half a second a lap somewhere around the circuit, and if I can find that, I reckon we're going to be really, really quick on Sunday, and well, we'll see what we can do. It is an endurance race. I don't know how quick the others on my team are going to be. I've got to meet one of them on this track day, and he was quick, but I don't know about the other guy. So all I can do is the best that I can do and try to give as good feedback as possible, whether that's for setting up the car or giving the other drivers advice on how I felt the car was handling. I'm not driving a car anymore, Milky. I'm a car racer now. But yeah, I hope this has been kind of fun for you guys, just to see a Ford KA hurtling around Donington. Also, I will mention we are not allowed to time laps. Those lap times have come after the session. We've been able to look at VBox data and that's how I've got the lap times, because you are not allowed to time your laps while you're in the car, because then you'll start chasing lap times, and that's not allowed for most track days. So when I was in the car, I couldn't see my lap times, right? I had no idea what my delta was, anything like that. Come the race day, I will know what my delta is, but for this, I didn't. So just wanted to put that out there in case anyone thinks I was being a bit of a naughty boy. I wasn't. I was being a very, very good boy. But yeah, there's no lap time because I was pushing and I made a mistake somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but I did make a mistake, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna abort the lap because I wasn't too happy with how the lap went. So I think it might be here into McLean's. Let's see if I get this right. You know what? It feels okay. It didn't look too bad, not gonna lie. Maybe it's into this corner, into Coppice. Again, I'm taking that slightly tighter line. I'm not letting it all the way out. Again, I don't know which is better because I didn't have the delta in the car. I've kind of looked back since, but it's just not the same feeling looking back at it compared to when you're in the car feeling it at the time. But yeah, that's been these hot laps. So with that, I'm going to let you have a little look at the inside of the car and give you a little tour of what a race prepped Ford KA cockpit looks like. So this is what the car looks like. We've got a fire extinguisher down there. Hopefully we'll never ever have to use that. There's a little mini timer. We're not allowed to use that during track days because timing's not allowed. We've got a race logic lap timer as well. Again, that's going to be turned off during testing, but it will be on during the race. We've got a nice cool racing steering wheel. I don't know what the red button is. Should I push the red button? No, I'm not going to push the red button. Those are the hazard lights there. Got some other stuff. Gear stick. Those are my nice shiny new racing boots. But yeah, it's just a normal Ford KA, but everything's been stripped out. And there's a nice roll cage with a camera as well. Rear view mirror to look behind. But yeah, it's all been stripped out. We've got the on ignition switch over there. I don't think I'm going to be using any of that during the race, although I could do with some nice cool air coming in. But yeah, that's what the interior looks like. And as for the exterior, we are running with semi-slick tyres, so not road tyres, but I think they would be legal on the road because, well, they're like summer tyres. They're essentially cut slick, so if it does rain, you're not completely screwed. And maybe I need to get a Milky Cereal sticker on the car as well, but yeah, that's what the car looks like. So I hope you enjoyed that little tour of the race car, and here is my session from the morning. As you can see, the camera angle or the camera view is not as good. It's a slightly worse camera in the car compared to a GoPro, and because of how sunny it was, it's very bright. But this was actually my fastest lap of the day, a 36.8, and well, I'm still trying to work out why this is nearly a second a lap quicker, because well, 36.8 to 37.8 is a second a lap quicker. It is the morning, it was warmer, which I guess means it was a little bit hotter and grippier. So maybe that's where a bit of time is, but I'm quite certain I started driving worse. Maybe I was chasing time, and yeah. So I don't really know why this lap is that much quicker, but it does still look cool, kind of looking through V-Box footage and seeing me in the car. And seeing like my hand inputs and everything, it is, yeah, it does bring a smile to my face because it's kind of something that I've wanted to do since, you know, I was like 5 years old, and now I'm actually sitting in a race car putting in laps at Donington Park. I get completely out of sorts through Coppice. I did take that corner a 10th lap quicker on another lap, so my ultimate time was like a 36.5 or something, but still, this was this was my quickest lap. I didn't really gain much time through the final chicane. I was quite consistent through that throughout the entirety of the day, despite little tweaks we had made to the setup and whatnot. But yeah, this was my fastest lap of the day at 36.8. You'll see it appear on the top right of the corner on the last lap kind of notification thing. There you go. But I thought, you know, for the rest of this video, I'll just leave another 3-4 laps of me just hurtling around Donington Park, and you can enjoy the engine sound.